Good afternoon, everyone. Ready to go? Excellent. Well, first of all, thanks again so much for coming today and taking the tour with us and doing this little after set, as it were. I see we've handed out our press releases, which will say what I'm getting ready to say, but that'll be fine. I'll be happy to take questions. One thing I wanted to mention, well, first of all, we're going to talk about the Excellence Academy construction. I think we're largely done with that. I'll be happy to entertain any questions about that. Some fan experience enhancements that we are going to undertake this year. Some new pieces on security, which I think we've previously announced but cannot communicate enough. Some developments with traffic and parking, and then finally some things that are specific and unique to the Ohio State game. And I'll go through those fairly briskly. You've got the details in your materials, but again, I'll be happy to answer questions. The one thing I was going to note before we leave the Excellence Academy is it was kind of loud, so I didn't really slow down, but this first rendering, I think it's the first one in your page, is really a good view of how the existing concourse connects with the new concourse, which will hopefully create a seamless connection around the stadium. It also highlights, and if there's any architect nerds out there, you might like this, but the columns are a real common design feature throughout the athletics campus. So the columns are a big piece of Memorial Stadium. We're carrying that feel through the south end zone, much like we did in the north end zone. It's really a feature of Assembly Hall. Ken Bickoff's probably the only person that knows that Memorial Stadium and Assembly Hall were designed at the same time, and they were designed to relate to each other. That design was carried on into Mellencamp, Gladstein Fieldhouse, Cook Hall, and so forth. And so those are some of the things the design folks talk to us about when they're working on these projects. So let me shift over to fan experience enhancements. I talked a little bit about the video board. The details on the size are in your materials. The board that's right above our head is about 20 by 68 feet, costs $500,000. The new one will be 42 foot by 91 feet, and it costs $1.1 million. And then we'll have the ribbon board in the south end zone. Again, I think these will be great amenities for our fans. We are the state school. We're the flagship university. We are proud of that, and as part of that, we have commissioned the manufacture of a fairly gigantic state flag, 60 feet by 100 feet. We'll unveil it, as it were, for the Ohio State game and have different honored guests unfurl it and wave it, and we think that'll be a lot of fun. We'll do that in connection with our Singing with Back Home Again in Indiana. We're primarily because of the construction, we're relocating Hoosier Village, but we actually think it'll be a really desirable relocation, one we probably should have done anyway. Hoosier Village will open 3 hours before kickoff. It will have a variety of food vendors. We'll have big TVs. So, of course, it closes at kickoff, but if people want to watch other pre-games or other games going on and that sort of thing, it'll be a great place to hang out after people get here early. And we're going to talk a lot about why people need to get here early. And one of the things you can do after you get here early, in addition to tailgating, is hanging out in Hoosier Village. There'll be live music there, promotional items, giveaways. The varsity club will be there. People buy merchandise and stuff like that. So I think it's the high-profile nature of it being right outside the west door of Assembly Hall will hopefully help drive traffic and make that an even bigger deal than it has been. Speaking of Hoosier Village, we are going to move the walk to its original traditional jumping-off point, which will be the stairs right in front of the west doors of Assembly Hall, and the team will congregate there and then promenade directly into Memorial Stadium, and that's where Coach Hepner originally envisioned the walk occurring. And as you guys know, that happens about 2 hours and 15 minutes before kickoff. We're also going to provide some free food to our students, encouraging them to come to the game, maybe get something in their stomachs after they've been tailgating. And so every student that comes to the game will get a voucher for a free hot dog and a free soft drink. And of course, we make water freely available within the stadium. You can buy it, but you can also get it in the stadium, and we'll make that available complimentary as well. We announced recently that we made use of a nationally prominent security firm, MSA Security. They gave us a variety of recommendations. Two of the most prominent ones that directly affect our fans are the clear bag policy and the metal detector policy. I was surprised to discover that we are the 10th school in the 14-member Big Ten to adopt a clear bag policy, and the other 4 schools don't let bags in at all. So this is probably something whose time may have come before, but we're implementing it now. I do want to emphasize that notwithstanding some comments to the contrary, I am pro-baby and pro-toddler. And so families showing up with diaper bags will be able to access the stadium, and we will have an exception for diaper bags, or if people have medical conditions where they have to carry oxygen or so forth, there'll be a entry point dedicated on each side of the stadium so they can conveniently have their bag cleared and take that into the stadium. Also for Ohio State, we'll be distributing plastic bags that cut the mustard in terms of requirements. We've got 40,000 of those. We're enlisting our ROTC partners, staff, and others will be sort of creating a perimeter around the stadium and going into the parking lots. So hopefully we don't have the unfortunate situation of somebody carrying their bag all the way in and then having to take it back. So we're going to work very hard to communicate this as broadly as possible. And even on game day, we're going to be taking an aggressive approach to try and make sure people understand the policy and have access to those plastic bags suitable for reuse. We also went with the walk-through medical detectors as opposed to the wands. Apparently, those are much more fast. My experience recently at the State Fair walking through one was quite positive and quick. So that was reinforced that I think we made a good choice going with the magnometers as opposed to the wands. But they will unavoidably be slower than they have before, and especially for Ohio State, when we expect 52,929 to be there, it's going to be slower. So you're going to hear over and over, and I hope this would feature prominently in any stories that you write. Please get here early, A, to Bloomington because of the traffic, and then please come to the stadium early. I know you want to get that last, or some people might want to get that last 12-ounce curl in before kickoff, but come into the stadium, especially for Ohio State. Game day will be here starting at 6 o'clock. We'll be broadcasting that on the Jumbotron, and we're going to, again, I'm stealing my thunder from down the road, but we are going to open the gates at 5:30. Usually it's an hour and a half before the game, so the game starts at 8, and so that would normally be 6:30, but we're opening them at 5:30, and we'll be opening all the concession stands. So we're really trying to incent people to not only getting to Bloomington early, but getting into the game early. So following up on traffic and parking, first of all, I want to thank NDOT and Governor Holcomb for the substantial progress that I think is now being made on 37, and also the commitment to do the best they can to limit lane restrictions on key days, move-in week, home football games, home basketball games. Some of you may have experienced that they really made good on that commitment, and all the lanes were open, at least north to south, on move-in week, and that really made things a lot better. But still asking people to get here early, especially for the first game. There'll be lots of traffic. We'll continue to publicize alternate routes, including the most up-to-date information about lane closures and so forth, which we actually trust but verify with NDOT. We ask them, but we actually drive those routes so that we can provide that information as well. Parking lots will open at least 5 hours before game time. Again, encouraging people to come early, and I think there's lots of things to do. Tailgating, Hoosier Village, which we just described, bars, restaurants, so forth. We have a dedicated Uber pickup and drop off, which so even if you come here very, very early and you want to Uber down to Kirkwood and back or wherever, there's opportunities to do that. We're trying to make that as easy as possible. Simon Scott Assembly Hall will be open, the south lobby, if people want to go in and tour and look down at the court and that sort of thing. A lot of people have not seen that and sometimes enjoy to do that, and we'll keep that open as well. In addition to trying to limit lane restrictions, NDOT is going to put the lights on a go green system so that hopefully the traffic will flow better than it might otherwise on a weekend. There's undoubtedly young social media types who are familiar with the Waze app, which I only am because my tech-savvy children told me about it. But it is really an awesome app, and many of you know that it may be one of the best ones of having up-to-date information, takes information that other people feed into it. We're also going to be able to program it, I suppose, to enable people to get to particular parking lots and so forth that they want to. So we're encouraging people to utilize and download, if they haven't yet, the Waze app, W-A-Z-E, which is a great tool. So also ask people to otherwise stay informed. I think the up-to-minute text, that's something I use, my family uses. If you text IUFB for IU football, IUFB to 313131, then you'll be on the list to get those texts. So we try not to kill you with stuff, but it does include a lot of information about traffic, parking, weather, and so forth. Also, you can go old school, I suppose, and at IU Hoosiers on Twitter. Follow information there, and then on our website at iuhoosiers.com. We're trying to improve the parking situation too. So traffic's one part, parking's another part. We're moving aggressively toward prepaid parking passes. We're including a $5 discount to try to encourage people to get prepaid parking passes. We're trying to dedicate more and more parking lots to prepaid parking passes. I don't know if you've had this experience, but I've had this experience many, many times where I'm in line to get in, and 5 places ahead, there's a 37-minute, that may be an exaggeration, but it feels like a 37-minute conversation between the ESG guy and somebody trying to figure out where they're supposed to go park. We're going to try to eliminate that with IUPD and others, only allowing people to turn into prepaid parking that have the prepaid parking thing on their rear view mirror. Hopefully, there's no silver bullet, but some of these little things will help with that process. We're also going to encourage people to consider, especially for big games where there's close to a sellout, knowing that the Kelly Garage is open, the Poplars Garage is open, even down on 3rd Street. Again, you can combine that with a ride share or walking to your favorite watering hole or so forth. So switching to Ohio State, we do have some special things for Ohio State, and I've heard Tom Allen say this. I think he's exactly right. When we were playing an opening game against a conference team, a division rival. They're ranked 2nd in the country. That's a big game. That's sort of undeniably the biggest game, biggest opening game in Indiana University football history, and we are approaching it as such. Again, I would encourage everybody to get here early. It's a gigantic opening game. I'm not announcing a sellout now, but I'm very, very confident it'll be a sellout crowd. Ultimately, we're very, very close. There are the traffic challenges. There are the new security measures. So please get here early to Bloomington and get here early into Memorial Stadium. I think we've got it all set up. I'm excited that the 37 I think will be better than it has been. I think these walk-through metal detectors will minimize challenges. So I don't want anybody to be scared off about coming. We're committed to making it a very positive experience, but please help us help you have a great experience by trying to get here early. ESPN Game Day, as you all know, will be here from 6 to 8. First time they've been in Bloomington for a football game. They'll be broadcasting inside Memorial Stadium, and we will be broadcasting that in turn up on the north end zone Jumbotron. There's also going to be the ESPN Megacast, with which you're probably familiar. 6, I think, different broadcasts across at least 3 or 4 different stations: ESPN News, ESPNU, ESPN3. And this is the first regular season game in broadcast history that has had the Megacast, if you will. It's only been for college football playoff games heretofore. So it's a big, big deal. And I want to thank our facilities folks who have worked extra hard to facilitate that, because as you might imagine, that takes a lot of juice and a lot of wiring and a lot of extra effort. Many of you know that Lee Corso will be here, of course, because he's a member of the game day team. What I don't think you know is that we will be honoring him with the Bill Orwig Award, which we give annually to a non-IU alumnus who has made a great contribution to IU athletics. And Lee Corso certainly fits into that category, and it's sort of poetic justice that Bill Orwig hired Lee Corso in 1973, and now he's going to receive the award in his name. That'll be at the end of the first quarter. Again, I mentioned the gates open early at 5:30. Jim Cornelius, the Blackhawks guy, as some refer to him, great alumnus of the Jacob School, will sing the national anthem for the Ohio State game. And I might point out that last time he was in Bloomington, he sang the national anthem when the men's basketball team played and upset eventual national champion North Carolina. So we'll see if we have some good karma there. We usually only do the balloon launch at back home again in Indiana at homecoming, but it is the biggest opening game in IU football history. So we will be letting out balloons, and I want to emphasize that they are environmentally friendly balloons. No turtles will be choked by our biodegradable balloons. And that concludes my report. I appreciate your patience. There's a lot there, but there's a lot going on, and I think this may be the most excited I've ever been going into a football season, and looking forward to a week from Thursday. Any questions?
Fred, I was kind of...
Sure, Pete.
I was kind of curious, what, if anything, can you do to minimize the Ohio State fans showing up at Memorial Stadium?
Well, the best thing we can do is have Indiana fans buy all the tickets. So if you want to be a hero and you're an Indiana fan, please come to the game and buy a bunch of tickets. I do think the Thursday night may make it a little less attractive for people, have to work the next day and schlep over from Ohio. It's going to be a late game, I imagine. It's imperfect tracking these sorts of things, but based upon the sales to date and the zip codes from whence they come, I think we're going to have a primarily Indiana crowd.
College game day usually has a bunch of students in the background. You said it's going to be broadcasting from inside the stadium. Will that still be the same setup, or will it be a little bit different?
Well, they'll be in the south end zone, so the construction will really be behind them, and I don't think we've got any special arrangements for kids to be there. Jeremy, am I right about that? Yeah. Sorry I'm holding on so tight. John told me that this floor creaks like crazy, and I didn't want to be shifting around, so I'm trying to stay steady. Jeff?
A little bit off topic, but this first chance we had to ask you about this, the Brian Fitzgerald situation. Can you address kind of what happened, what led to that error, what's been done to rectify that?
Yeah. It's an extremely unfortunate situation. I really don't have anything to add to our statement, and for a variety of reasons, including FERPA implications. I'll just leave that where that is.
What are some of the checks you guys have now to prevent that from happening again? I mean, how have you kind of remedied that?
Yeah, really redundancies. So having more than one set of eyes review that, and also using technology to be a backstop on those sorts of functions.
Like a situation where there's, I guess, staff expansion, or would it be more?
It likely will. Sure.
The obvious, I don't know if anticipation is a word, but the drama with Kevin Wilson coming back. And I know you want to focus on the game, but yet that's going to be part of the talking points. How do you just your views on that? The irony of all that.
Yeah, I mean, it adds an interesting storyline to what I think is already a great story. And I've heard Tom Allen comment on a number of times that he and Kevin are in a good place, have communicated frequently, and that Tom appreciates what Kevin did for him, bringing him here, and I appreciate what Kevin did to help build the program here. You can you can disagree with someone and occasionally be disappointed with someone, but still really like them and be hopeful that they have success going forward. And I think Kevin will. I just hope not too much of it is a week from Thursday.
37 traffic, it sounds like that maybe, I guess, are you comfortable in the past it seems like there's always been one or two really big new initiatives. Do you feel like, given that this is what, year 3, year 4 of going through all that there's a solid infrastructure in place at this point with IU athletics and game day management and personnel that maybe you've worked a lot of the kinks out and it's about as good as it can be in a lot of ways?
Yeah, I think we're in as good a position as we can be with 37. I give the governor great credit. That's a mess he inherited, but he owned it. And now that NDOT is solidly in charge, I think they're a great group of professionals. They weren't in charge of it before. They know what they're doing, and I think we really saw that here. Move-in week with all the lanes being open, and I'm very hopeful that can continue, because that makes all the difference if that's able to occur.
Fred, you've been here for a while as an athletic director. Has it surprised you how things get outdated with facilities nowadays?
I can't say that it surprises me, but it's a challenge, and especially given the influx of technology into intercollegiate athletics, whether it's media communications technology, or even how kids are trained or taken care of from a wellness perspective. So I think part of our challenges is always being on the very front edge of that, and hopefully not being the last one to the party, but the first one to the party, and then all the iterations that occur after that. And I remember, I'm old enough that I remember when things seemed very, very new, and now they're very, very old in what seems like too short a time period. But you can't. I think you got to be careful not to be nostalgic too much, and make sure that you keep the spirit of the facilities and other pieces, but be ready to move forward too.
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting somebody. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, what is it going to look like on game day? I mean, is it going to pretty much look like this? Is there going to be a kind of backdrop blocking the construction?
It'll primarily look like this. Game day will be located right up in front of where it says home, I think, on the fence, noting the future home of the Excellence Academy. And I think that's awesome, because I love having progress vividly demonstrated on national television. So I would not block it out. Pete?
Tom has obviously talked about this being a breakthrough season. From your perspective, what do you think generates that kind of optimism? This could be a breakthrough season.
Well, I'm glad Tom's embracing that and calling for that. I think it's a little tough when, even though there's great continuity, given that he had been our defensive coordinator, to suddenly expect a first-year coach to be the one to break through, given the history of our program. I think it's a little unfair, and maybe a little ambitious. But I like the positive approach, and I like that it applies across the board. It's breakthrough to make stops. It's breakthrough to score points. It's breakthrough to hold on to leads. It's breakthrough to overtake someone with a small lead. And if we could make a bowl, I know our back-to-back bowls was the first time in 26 years. I haven't looked yet to see when the last time we made 3 in a row. But if it's been longer than 26 years, probably at least 27, maybe longer. I will be pleased if we continue the momentum that I think Kevin really did start.
How big is it to have game day here with all that they do to promote wherever they are? I mean, I know sometimes marketing entities put a dollar on that. Sometimes they can't. How big is it? Do you guys have a dollar figure? If you tried to buy this much advertising, it's worth X dollars.
Yeah, I don't have a dollar figure, but I think it's really difficult to overstate what a big deal it is. And I understand, there's that interest in Ohio State is certainly part of it. But we've earned that attention, I think, by being in the Eastern Division of the Big Ten and coming up a little short, but given our higher ranked rivals pretty much all they've wanted the last couple of years. So I think we've earned making that an interesting game that Game Day would want to cover, and having them here, you can't overstate it. Recruits seeing our stadium, and we're going to do everything we can to tell our story and look behind the nooks and crannies about our practice facilities and our weight room and the Circle of Excellence and the future of the Excellence Academy and all those things. We get a lot of pro scouts and coaches and others from other teams that say, you're the best kept secret in college football. And I look forward to when we are not the best kept secret in college football. I think everything's in place for us to break through. And I think over the next 2 or 3 years, we'll do just that.
You've been a big proponent of doing things that help IU football take steps. Chance to go to 3 consecutive bowl games, obviously, would be very notable. Where do you think the program's at, and what do you think of the chance to have 3 consecutive bowl seasons?
Yeah, I think we're going the right way. I mean, I understand that, we've gone to 2 in a row, but we've had 2 losing seasons in a row. So I don't say I'm satisfied with what some might view as, mediocrity. But I think at Indiana, when it's 2 bowls in a row in 26 years and 4 bucket wins in a row for the first time in 70 years, the first linebacker to be an All-American in 30 years. I like it when a lot of the things we're doing are 30-year things, 25-year things, 35-year things back when, Coach Mallory really had it going on. So I think we're going in the right direction. I'm not saying we're satisfied with 6 and 7, but I think another bowl appearance would really just keep building that momentum. And I was in here yesterday for freshman induction and looking at the freshmen on that football team, and they look a lot different than the freshmen I saw when I got here 9 years ago. So I think, all the way across the board, the program is on the upswing. And I think football is important. We're all about 24 sports, one team, and we understand the preeminence of men's basketball, and I don't shy away from that at all. But it's important that Indiana University have a football program worthy of our brand of being excellent. And it's where we have inventory to provide, and where we can make some gains revenue-wise, but maybe more importantly, have a football program worthy of the respect of Indiana University and our fans. And whether it's fair or not, it disproportionately reflects on your institution. And so we're going to continue to do everything we can to support a resurgence of IU football. Pete.
Switching gears a little bit, and I know you can't talk recruiting, specific recruiting. Basketball has made a big impact in general in recruiting in the last 3 weeks. How satisfied or happy are you about that?
Well, I'm real happy about it. One of the things Archie and I talked about was that he was an unbelievable recruiter at Dayton, but I think there's unavoidably a ceiling at Dayton with the A-10, and kid might love Dayton, but if he gets a chance to beat a Power 5 or a traditional power, Archie was going to have a hard time keeping him there. And he and I thought that being at Indiana would largely remove that ceiling. And, you never know till you know, but seems like so far so good in that regard. And the inside-out approach seems to be so far so good. So I'm very pleased with the early results on that.
Your early thoughts on the challenges of the Big Ten basketball schedule that came out last week?
Yeah, it's really too bad that it's sort of the perfect storm with the acceleration of the schedule because of the need to be in Madison Square Garden early, Super Bowl in Minnesota, and the closing of Welsh Ryan Arena at Northwestern for their renovations, all came together to create too many quick turnarounds and all that. So it's unfortunate. But I will say I was very impressed the way the Big Ten took that head on. Jim Delaney spent 8 hours calling every coach to explain what the situation was. I won't speak for my colleagues. It was very helpful for me to have Archie hear directly from the commissioner and increased his understanding of where it was. It's a one-shot deal. I think most of those issues will go away next year. So it's unfortunate, but I think the conference has handled it the right way and, support what they're doing.
Change anything logistically for you guys, or is it just a factor of some games that would have been in February or March or now in December?
It doesn't. The biggest challenge is the quick turnarounds, which are unfortunate for the kids and unfortunate in terms of sort of equal challenges for the teams. But I think the conference did the absolute best they could. I think they did a great job under the circumstances. I appreciate their transparency, and we'll play them when we're supposed to be there.
On those quick turnarounds, does it change missed class time, travel time, as far as Big Ten still has that rule, right? We've got to be in the city of the event 24 hours at a time. That still exists, right?
It does.
Does that work on some of those things?
Yeah, we may ask for some relief from those because it may make sense to, no decision's been made or anything, but it may make sense on a turnaround to go in the day of, whereas before we'd gone in the day before. It would require relief, but given the schedule, I think that'll hopefully be generously granted.
As athletic directors overall, have you guys all talked about this? Because I'm hearing other schools may also ask for, like you said, relief or options.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it collectively, but it's a fairly, obvious way to maybe shave some of the rough edges off of this challenge. Mike?
Back to football, there's talk about it being a breakthrough season. How do you find a breakthrough season for Aggie football?
Right. Well, I think that's the beauty of the word breakthrough, because Tom usually talks about it in the context of, I don't remember the statistics, but how many games we were ahead deep into the game or within, a touchdown deep into the game and just couldn't make that play or get that stop to flip it around. And so, I think we'll hopefully take those breakthrough evidence as we find it. I don't think it means this record or anything like that. But I think it's the trust that breeds confidence. I think this is a group that trusts their coaching staff. They trust each other. They're trusting themselves. And to me, trust is the key factor to breaking through, because it really comes down to confidence. Do you really think you can win or not? I probably shouldn't tell this story, but I remember, I think it was my first or second year here, and we were up at Northwestern, and we were up, I think like 3 touchdowns at halftime. I may be off, and I was walking off the field, and I had this incredible feeling that Northwestern was walking off like they believed they were still going to win, and we were walking off hoping we could hold on. And as it turned out, they came back and won. And I think that confidence is key, and I do think it's built on trust, but then having some success and winning that close game, and then it builds on itself. I think Parcells' book talked about the evolution where you lose by a lot, and then you lose by a little, and then you start to win. And I think we're at the fulcrum of that right now. Anything else? Thanks for being here. Thanks for the attention, the questions. Really appreciate it. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to let me know. I do think we have some grub back there for you all. So enjoy, and thanks again for coming. Go IU.